Distinguished President of the Human Rights Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. I'm honored to be here in Geneva today for the 58th session of the Human Rights Council. At the outset, allow me to thank previous President Ambassador Omar Zniber of Morocco for his work, and to congratulate Ambassador Juraj Blanár of Switzerland on assuming the presidency of this body. In difficult times like this, you can count on Slovakia and support in your endeavors. Mr. President, the first session of the Human Rights Council this year marks somber occasion coincide with the third anniversary of the start of the war in Ukraine. This conflict has taken too many lives, left thousands wounded, and caused immense destruction and suffering. I will pick just one aspect from the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine that reports about the President suffering of civilians and prisoners of war. Even in times of war, civilians and prisoners of war should be treated with the dignity and in line with the relevant norms of international law. The war must stop. Slovakia is convinced that achieving a comprehensive, just and lasting peace can only be achieved through the diplomatic solution based on the key principles of UN charters. We are fully committed to support such a diplomatic effort. Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected. Any attempts to change border by force are unacceptable. Mr. President, but sadly, there is a numerous conflict zone around the world. Middle East and the Israel-Palestinian conflict bring us another tragic example. The war has brought about a huge human rights crisis and humanitarian disaster. At the same time, since Hamas' deadly attack on Israel and the subsequent war in Gaza, there has been a dramatic increase in anti-Semitism across the world. Anti-Semitism poses the threat to human lives, but also democracy and humanity. It must be addressed with zero tolerance. People can have disagreements about the conflict in the Middle East, but the red line is crossed already when these disagreements lead to violence or threat of violence. We must reject any form of hatred and create societies that uphold human rights and security for all. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, after almost 14 years of civil war, the future of Syria is being shaped today. An opportunity has now emerged to establish a new social contract between the diverse components of Syrian society. It is our sincere hope that the Syrian leadership will focus on peaceful and inclusive transition, inter-ethnic and inter-religious reconciliation as precondition for safe and voluntary return of internally displaced people and refugees. At the same time, assuring accountability through the judicial process, justice, restitution and true reconciliation among Syrians will be the key. We believe that UN Human Rights Pillar and your office, Mr. High Commissioner, has its irreplaceable role to play here. Mr. President, less optimistic view offers the deteriorating human rights situation in Afghanistan. with a systematic gender-based discrimination and violence against women and girls, restricting freedom of movement and access to employment, education, and justice. Afghanistan is the only country in the world where girls cannot complete primary education and study at secondary school and universities. We strongly condemned this decision and call on the Taliban to abolish this discriminatory policy. Slovakia supports Afghan women education and contributes a small part with the scholarship from the government of the Slovak Republic for their higher education every year. Mr. President, allow me also to touch upon the topic whose significance is on the increase and requires the attention of Human Rights Council as well. These phenomena are the new technologies, including artificial intelligence and their correlation with the human rights. New technologies offer numerous benefits to our societies, but in parallel, they create new ethnical dilemmas and risks. Slovakia supports the concept of digital humanism, where the ethical and moral boundaries of the digital transition are identified. Therefore, we call upon the responsible use of AI technology by state and other actors. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me say the mutual support, communication and partnership have never played such an important role as today. What we all need to is peace, respect for human life and human rights. We can only achieve and maintain them through the effective multilateralism and cooperation. Is it imperative that dialogue and respect for standards well established in international law must be returned to the vocabulary of diplomacy? We wish to actively contribute to that. Therefore, Slovakia has presented its candidacy to the UN Security Council and to the Human Rights Council and is ready to promote these essential principles. Thank you, Mr. President, and ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.